Warning, this video will contain spoilers for Jedi Fallen Order. A few months ago, when we knew very little about Fallen Order, we got our first look at these guys, Purge Troopers.
A Jedi.
Some of the coolest new looking Empire characters in the Star Wars universe. I actually got to meet a couple at EA Play earlier this year.
Thanks, guys.
Now, there are several different classes of Purge Troopers, as you can see here in Jedi Fallen Order, who carry different weapons, have different ways of attacking, and each offer a different fighting style, making them more challenging and adding some variety to gameplay. For a little background, Purge Troopers are special Imperial soldiers under the command of Darth Vader and the Inquisitorius. Before the events of Fallen Order, Purge Troopers were originally clones, produced in the last generation of clones using Jango Fett's DNA. But eventually, the clone Purge Troopers were phased out and replaced with non-clones. These are the ones we see in Fallen Order, led by the second and ninth sister to hunt down Cal Kestis. Another little fun fact, their helmet design is based on the clone paratroopers, the specialized clone trooper unit in the Republic. Okay, so now let's take a look at the 4 different types of Purge Troopers in Fallen Order and detail some of their different weaponry and abilities. Each one is very different to the last and possesses a unique, different way of fighting. First up, we have the Purge Trooper you've probably seen most commonly. This is the one from all the trailers you've probably seen in the past few months, the Electrostaff Purge Trooper. Basically the Imperial version of a Magna Guard, totally a rip-off of the Magna Guard. Their Electrostaff works exactly the same as the Magna Guards and is capable of blocking lightsaber swings without being broken. I assume the difference between an Electrostaff and a lightsaber is that a lightsaber will cut through anything and an Electrostaff will just electrocute whoever or whatever gets hit by it without slicing it open. I found it kind of interesting when George Lucas or whoever created these things invented a weapon capable of blocking a lightsaber. And up until Revenge of the Sith, there was nothing like this. Before Revenge of the Sith, the lightsaber was capable of cutting through pretty much everything. I feel like Respawn have done a great job of implementing the lightsaber combat versus the lightsaber counter weapons into the gameplay. They wanted to be able to balance the lightsaber against other weapons while still making the lightsaber feel as deadly as it is. And they've done that by including multiple enemies with varying levels of difficulty, using lightsaber blocking weapons. The Electrostaff Purge Troopers have 2 main styles of attacking. They'll either use their Electrostaff for a series of bigger, heavier attacks, some involving jumping and slamming the staff into the ground, or they'll spin the staff around quickly and deal a rapid-fire succession of attacks. It's also important to note that when fighting these guys, they can attack even after being parried. Using the parry move probably isn't the best way to deal with taking them down, because they have a counter for it. Instead, focus on watching and learning their combos and wait until the end of their combo move. There'll be a brief period here where they'll be exposed and you'll be able to attack them. Now, Purge Troopers are specifically equipped with gear and armor made for fighting against Jedi. You might notice that some of your force powers don't work on Purge Troopers, and even though you can sometimes catch them off guard and send them flying off a cliff, other times your force push will be blocked and the Purge Troopers will use their magnetic tractor boots to prevent them from being pushed back. I'm assuming that's what they're using anyway. There's no canon description of the Purge Troopers boots, but based on what we're seeing here and what's written about them in Star Wars Legends lore, this is what they're doing, using magnetic tractor boots in place of not having the force. And be careful if you're going to force pull a Purge Trooper towards you. Sometimes when you force pull a Purge Trooper, they'll jump into an attack and stab you with their Electrostaff. Force pulling isn't really the way to go about dealing with these guys. Instead, I quite like the catch them off guard and then force push them off a cliff move. It doesn't work every time, but when it does, it's the best. Easy, you get out of trouble super fast, you just force push them off a cliff. No harm done, except to them I guess, but why do I care? I'm still alive and on my quest to becoming a Jedi. Next, we have the Electrobaton Purge Trooper. These guys have 1 Electrobaton in each hand used for faster attacks than the Electrostaff. These troopers also have a white Imperial logo on their left arm as opposed to the red logo seen on the Electrostaff Trooper. And these are my favorite type of Purge Trooper, just because of how quickly they they attack and how much I love the glowing purple batons they carry in each hand. It's basically the Electrostaff cut in half, shortened, and then they can flail it around and try and attack you with it. And these Purge Troopers can use both batons at the same time to block your attacks in an X shape, kind of they do it above their head, and they'll continue to swing at you one baton after the other until you break their guard and swing in for an attack. Again, force powers aren't always effective against Purge Troopers, and you'll need to time your attacks just right to be able to take these guys out. But sometimes the force push off a cliff move will work, so I'd still recommend trying to avoid all types of conflict if you can. Don't even need to fight, just force push them off the cliff and you'll be fine. I feel like this is the solution to all enemies in this game. Once you unlock the force pull and grab around the throat, you can throw enemies off cliffs too. You probably want to do that at some point. Probably not with Purge Troopers though, because they'll come and attack you and you don't want them closer than they already are. But yeah, the force push. Next up is the Electrohammer Purge Trooper, the heavy tanky edition of the Purge Troopers. I found these to be the easiest of all Purge Troopers to fight against, just because they're slow, leaving them exposed for attacking for a longer period of time. But to be fair, I've only so far come across the one, and I got lucky and force pushed him off the platform on Kashyyyk in true Jedi style, not wanting to fight, just use the force, sending him to his death falling from the giant treetops. If you got force pushed off the top of one of these Kashyyyk trees, how long do you think it'd take for you to fall and hit the ground at the bottom? Say like a solid minute at least. It's like skydiving, they're so high, these trees. When attacking, these Purge Troopers can swing their Electrohammer into the ground, slamming it down to produce a shockwave which will knock you back and deal damage. And you probably don't want to try block or parry against these guys either. Their Electrohammer is a heavier weapon than the other Purge Troopers and will slam through most of your defenses. Best chance of winning against these guys is to wait until after they perform a heavy attack and use the slightly longer exposed window to strike. Also, if you go in with regular lightsaber attacks, they'll most likely block most of them with the Electrohammer, then parry and get in a few hits against you. So you might want to just wait until they slam the thing into the ground, then you can go attack them yourself. And these guys also have this taunt animation where they whack their hammer against the ground a few times trying to get you to come over and fight. If you see them doing this taunt to you, I'd advise to try catch them off guard and force push them off a cliff, like we've done for all the other troopers. They'll get what they deserve, and you'll get a laugh out of it, so it's beneficial for all parties involved. And finally, we have the Purge Trooper Commander. These are the only Purge Troopers who don't rely purely on melee attacks in combat. Instead, they'll stand at a distance and fire at you with their DC-15 LE blaster. Or maybe it's just a straight DC-15, I'm not sure. I'm sure one of you can tell me that. Good to be accurate. You can try block their blast back, but chances are they're going to dodge your blocks, then fire a heavier charged up blast at you, which you can't block at all. You've got to dive right out of the way of these. Don't let this hit you. It's going to hurt. Purge Trooper commanders also throw shock grenades in your direction, so do your best to avoid these and try and close the distance between you and the Purge Trooper as fast as possible. Although they'll try and jab you with their blaster rifle, these Purge Troopers are much more vulnerable when up close and personal, so try and anticipate their dodges, then attack them with your lightsaber. And if all else fails, if they're too quick for you, if they keep shooting from a distance, all you gotta do is catch them off guard and push them off a cliff. It's the only guaranteed way for a quick death. And then you don't have to deal with them. You can say you defeated a Purge Trooper without even swinging your lightsaber. And if you do this with all 4 types of Purge Troopers, you can say you defeated all 4 types of Purge Troopers using only the Force. I feel like that's the path to becoming a Jedi. Forget all this other Jedi training stuff. You just gotta push Purge Troopers off cliffs. That's the way to go. Now, what I'd love to see in Fallen Order, or perhaps another up-and-coming Star Wars game, is a game mode where you get to play as the Purge Troopers. Can you imagine what it'd be like switching sides in Fallen Order? Instead of playing as a Jedi trying to survive the aftermath of Order 66, how about we play as a Purge Trooper, or even an Inquisitor, tasked with hunting down surviving Jedi in hiding throughout the galaxy? Fingers crossed for a game like this someday. Or perhaps there'll be a future update for Fallen Order, or even PC mods for the game that enable you to play as the AI enemies. Would love to see that happen, especially now that we've got these fleshed out different versions of the Purge Trooper. I want to try them all, see what their different abilities are like to use. And I really don't mind that they're an Imperial Magna Guard ripoff. I want to hunt Jedi all dressed up in my black armor with my purple electro weapon, looking like a beast, ready to take out some Jedi. Anyway, which is your favorite of the 4 Purge Troopers? Which one do you like the most? Let me know in the comments. And go watch my video with everything you need to know about lightsaber customization in Fallen Order, where I talk about how it was inspired by the lightsabers from Galaxy's Edge. And follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Discord for some Fallen Order giveaways coming soon, and more Fallen Order content over there. Go check that out. Thanks for watching this, guys. My name's Andrew. I'll catch you soon.
Stay bombastic.